Good morning. Good morning. We are here today talking with Dr. Cedric Roberts, a very dear friend of mine. We met a couple of years ago, and I am just impressed and floored with his way of communicating in the workforce and how we interact. I've been on a couple of, at least 1 year long venture with him as we travel down this journey of communicating. Dr. Roberts, tell us about yourself, what you want
Hey,
everyone to know.
first of all, good morning, Dr. Fowler. And I think it's just so exciting to have the opportunity to be on this stream. Take a few minutes to talk about leadership. I feel honored that you would, give me this opportunity. I'm Cedric Roberts. My area of specialty is when I went to school, I was a double major. So I have 2 degrees in religion and 2 degrees in business. And so I kind of work in the area where business and religion meet. I always make this joke that said I could collect your offering, account for it, and pray about it all at the same time. Preach a sermon on the whole 9 yards. Currently, my area of specialty in finance is really nonprofit accounting. I've done some corporate accounting, but I've actually been doing accounting for probably almost 40 years. And currently, I work as a CFO of a large mega church. And then I also passed a smaller UCC church, which is Jubilee United Church of Christ. So I'm really integrated in this whole area of nonprofit accounting. That's my area of specialty.
Well, I think that is excellent. We often get into these business discussions about for profit, but we never really go down that pathway of nonprofit. And when we do, we talk about how hard it is, to be able to account. Uh, well, in this changing work environment, whether you're for profit or nonprofit, I find that the landscape of the workforce has changed. Where now we're looking at a workforce made up of millennials, and what they say is millennial reign in the workforce today. And so, like you, I have worked across generations of different workforces. And I just want to know, what is it that we could understand as leaders from this current workforce?
Well, I think one thing we have to do is initially when we started the workforce, it was back in the days when you would get one job and you'd be on that job 30 years and retire, which is not the model for the younger workforce now. And then we had this thing where we would go to work every day, but the younger force is so accustomed to technology and social media that they want to work remotely. They want to work various hours. They want a lot of more freedom and latitude, which is something that we've created in their psyche. But at the same time, it all sounds new and exciting. But we're learning that some of the older values that we had in my earlier leadership and management, we actually bring it back. And one of the things we've learned is that, because of social media and all the Snapchat and Facebook and Instagram and all of these things, that people have lost the ability to know how to engage each other.
Mm,
And then when it comes time to now lead, they don't know how to lead because they don't know how to engage people because they never really actually had to. When even now at the midst of COVID, we having kids are being homeschooled. And what I always amazed about when I talk about college, that young people would prefer doing online classes than doing in-person classes. So now we have this gap in communication, and we're
mm.
going to go back and reteach them some of the interpersonal skills because I was thinking last night about leadership, and there are certain Bible verses that I use as models. Like, for example, I use First Corinthians as the evaluation. I call it my love tool. So
Uh-huh.
really, the 23rd Psalms is actually a good model to follow because it gives you really good understanding when it talks about this thing about a shepherd and a shepherd leading sheep. I think
Yeah,
there's some good principles in there that helps you to understand what true leadership is, because leadership is really a selfishless job. I think that some of it is a call
hmm,
and some of it is innate. And I think you have to kind of look at it from that shepherd model, that my job is to make the people that I'm leading better. It's not about me. And I think often now what you find, people want to be, especially with the millennials, want to be in leadership because they want to be on social media. They want to talk about their title and their job. They want that, 2 seconds of that snap picture, the
yeah,
post about this
yeah,
is what I'm doing. But really, true leadership is selfishness. Selfish. It can't be about you. It's about, and your reward is the development of the people that you're leading.
Right, right. It definitely the outcome or the success of our organizational outcomes depend on the leader and the group that they're leading, right?
They
And
lead
so
you.
when we talk about the millenniums, they say that servant leadership is really the type of leadership style that could help foster attracting and retaining a new workforce, right?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
what is your favorite aspect of leadership and why?
My probably my favorite aspect of leadership is the training.
Hmm.
You're constantly leading and training and developing. So I get my greatest reward when I see the people that I'm leading become successful.
Yes,
That's where you get your biggest. But it's not for me about the title or the position. It's what can I do for this particular project or this particular task or this particular role to make the people that I'm leading better. So I talked about that whole shepherd model. You know,
yes,
the
yes,
Lord is my shepherd. Shall not want. He leads me down the path. He
yes.
guides me. You know, he
You're gonna
feeds
teach us
me.
into a sermon today.
Yeah, that's those are the things, and those are really the things you do in leadership. You're constantly looking at the people, you know, and seeing how can I make these people, how can I grow these people? Because remember that when you're a leader, people
Yes.
are dependent on you for the guidance.
Yes, yes. And
You
so
know,
when we realize the significance of our impact as leaders, I talk about it as getting intimate with leadership, right? We really
mhm,
have to be methodical and intentional about how we engage our workforce, you know. And so when we're trying to have a conversation about day-to-day business with our workforce, they may be focused on an issue that's personal to them. And
mhm,
so we have to be conscious of that. And so with that, I'm just kind of wondering how can we better engage our workforce when it comes to our leadership development programs, right? How
mhm.
can we redesign that? Because I imagine right now that every organization and company is taking their strategic plan and the leadership development program off the shelf, right? And
Right.
have to review it based on the fact that we have a change in workspace and a change in the workforce colliding with one another. And you can almost
Mhm.
say that leaders find themselves in a leadership crisis right now. Like, how do I go forward and how do I sustain that is good? And how do I change at the same time? And so, what is it that you could offer
Well,
leaders?
first of all, we have to kind of re-envision what work looks like, and we have to re-envision how we engage. So, you know, 20 years ago, the way it worked was the manager made the decisions, and we followed. People followed decisions. That doesn't work anymore.
Right, right, right.
Now, what you have to do is you have to allow, especially with the millennials, you have to do a lot of listening
Yes.
because they have been taught and empowered that they have value, their ideas matter. And often with them, it's kind of like reinventing the wheel again, but
Yes.
for them, it's not. So you spend a lot of your time listening, and then you have to be really transparent with them. Say,
Hmm.
hey, I'm in charge, but at the same time, you have that, and I want, and your opinion matters. So
Yes.
then, when you come to that, create this space, a safe space where people are open, they can have dialogue with you, they could talk about what they're feeling, and then we could talk to them like, what, how can you be productive? What environment does it take? You know, for now, you know, we have people where the work home from model is a better model. You know, you're not. I actually think that people who work from home work harder. You
Ah.
know, because in working from home, you have to have teach the person how to actually lead themselves.
Well,
So
I
I
think
think
we need to.
re-envisioning what a work day looks like, you know, what a work week looks like, what work hours look like, and being able to be really, really flexible to say what a work day and how I function and achieve a goal for a task may be different than how you achieve a goal. You know, back in the government model, everybody came to work. You were there from 9 to 5. You
Yeah.
shut at the end of the day, and that was it. It doesn't. That's not like sometimes for some people a 4 day week may work better. Some people a 5 day week may work. Some people a schedule where so many days in the office, so many days remotely may work better. But you have to craft for that individual
Yes.
employee and that individual contract what a good way and a healthy way for them to become productive, and it could vary from person to person. So you have to have a lot of flexibility. So I think in re-envisioning what work looked like and how you accomplished the goal, and understand that it could be with overall guiding principles and policies, but how you get there, the role is, and to give you the best example, I went to an appointment this morning, and
Uh-huh.
I always use the Waze app. And one thing
Okay.
I love about the Waze app is the Waze app can give you different routes to get to the same place. But
Yes.
ultimately, to get there, now some routes may take you 5 minutes longer, some routes may, but
Yeah.
ultimately, it's kind of the same thing. You're kind of like, the person where you say, how do we get here? And how you get there for this person may be different. And people's needs may be different. Some people may need a little more guidance, a little more structure. Because one thing people we have to remember is that when a person, and that's why I like the shepherd model, when a
Yeah.
person comes to you as an employee or worker, or are you going to lead, they come with their who they are and
Yeah.
all of their things. I often sometimes find myself almost being a counselor and
Yeah.
because these people, because remember, you spend more time with your workers than sometimes you do with your own family.
Yeah. Yeah. As I continue to read about the today's workforce, uh, it is revealed that the new millennial workforce, they want leaders to invest in their professional as well as their developmental skill set, right? Beyond that of the organization and beyond that of the leader themselves. They really do want you to invest in it. And the thing that stands out to me with the study that I'm doing is that leaders, the millennium workforce view hierarchy differently than we viewed hierarchy. Like, matter of fact, if they view it at all, because they are seeking those organizations that can cater to their needs, right? Their values, should I say.
Mhm,
And they
mhm.
would not hesitate to find and to leave an organization and go find one that does cater to their need. And that is why I'm looking at leadership and the type of leadership style that attracts and retains leaders. How has that been relevant for you in regards to just being in the mix of a different work environment?
Well, see, so two things that you have to engage. We talked about initially about this thing about the social media age and people not being able to gauge. So one of the big challenges that you're going to find in modern day leadership is this concept of team building.
Yeah, yeah.
How do
Okay.
you build a team when people are virtual? And then one thing that we've learned since now we enter the Zoom era,
Yes.
that the Zoom era has forced us to engage each other face to
The
face on
face.
a consistent basis, where people would where the millennials are more inclined to retreat into a silo.
Yeah.
Now we're learning how important it is to build. So that's one struggle that you will have is building a team. Other thing is people is having to let them be heard, and actually sometimes trying their ideas.
Yeah.
I tell people that I don't really have all the answers. I'm just a leader. So let's try your way. And sometimes allow them to
Yes.
try the way, and allow them, even though you may know that that's not going to work, you still allow them to try, because you may be pleasantly surprised. It may work.
It may work, and especially it's no cookie cutter way to get to, like you said, when you use the Waze app. One way to get to some place, right?
Hmm.
And as we evolve, leadership evolve, and the workforce and the workplace evolve, and as we go forward, we want to influence what going forward looks like, what the new normal looks like. And that is why I think timing right now, and talking leadership and being intentional, is necessary. You do not want to assume a whole lot at this point. You really want to have the reality that's before you and deal with that. Well, let me ask you a question. What book are you reading right now, and why? And how
Well,
does it influence?
yeah, I got this book here, and it's I got two books actually.
Okay.
Let me give you one. So because a lot of what I do is working with boards,
Uh-huh.
because one thing I've learned is with millennials, whereas in the older generation, older leadership style, a person come to work and all I need to know is my task. So millennials are not like that. They want to have a big understanding of the big picture. They want to be clear on what the goals are, where we're going, why am I doing this? Why is this important? Because I want to feel they want to. So I got a couple books. So one book here is called The Call of the Chair. And it's
Okay.
actually something that I gave to a board at the bigger church that I work for. And it talks about how looking at it at your job on the board as a call. So I've been making all of my staff do board training to
Okay.
help them understand the big picture. And no matter what your job is, no matter where you are on the spectrum, that your job is important and is valued. I actually make this thing that would, we're in accounting and finance. I say the most important person in the department is the person doing the filing.
Okay.
When there's time for an audit and you can't find that document to validate why you had that
Yes.
experience, the auditors automatically assume there's a probability of fraud. So I tell the person who's filing, do you know how important your job is? So when that person comes to work every day, they come with a sense of purpose. And that's what the millennials are looking for. The second book is a book called Managing to Change the World, and it's a nonprofit manager's guide to getting resources. So a lot of my thing that I'm reading is related to management of people, management and nonprofit. Nonprofit management is a tough
Yes.
job. It's a tough job because it's heavily regulated. There's a lot of rules, and that's the one thing that millennials don't like. They don't like rules.
Rules. They don't. They don't.
They do not like rules.
And it's challenging for us as leaders because we really do have to adapt. Now we're the ones adapting,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
as we go forward, we want to be able to hand off something to the next generation. And that is why my call to action today is for leaders to, again, listen, learn, and lead, right? We have to
Mm-hmm.
listen to be able to see what's going on with our new workforce. And what you have dropped today is just a nugget. So many nuggets. They work harder when they work from home. They want to know the big picture when they're working, and they want to be know the importance of how they're contributing. And you have covered all of that. And the greatest thing here, you talked about it from a nonprofit standpoint. And so I value this discussion today. And I just have a call to action for our leaders out there to just again take that strategic plan and that leadership development program off the shelf and rethink it and include our current workforce of millennials in it so that we could be effective leaders. And so,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Roberts, I just want to thank you today for sharing with us those golden nuggets. And I'm going to keep that in mind in regards to re-looking at the 23rd Psalm
Mm-hmm.
and leadership. And I think that's a great lesson. And I love how you bridge your how religion and management and accounting into the factor today. So thank you once again, and I am glad we have met, and thank you for how you have contributed to our workforce, our nonprofit, and you teach as you go, and you keep reading. So that's the thing we have to realize. We never arrive to the point of success. We have to keep learning.
You
You
have
know?
to keep learning. You have to keep growing. You go, and I just want to say again, as you deal with the millennials, don't forget, everyone is looking for that sense of purpose.
Yeah.
So when you
Yes.
really want to reach them and touch them, help them to understand their purpose. And I think once you get them to understand their purpose and their value, you got a win-win situation.
Well, I know the millennials are going when they listen to this and view this, they're going to cheer you on because of the fact that finally somebody put into words what they have been experiencing and expressing from a leadership standpoint. And leaders need to just listen up, and we just need to realize that we don't know everything.
Absolutely not.
We don't know everything, and so we're just in a position, and it's not a position of power, but it's in a position of being able to grow other people and make
Right.
decisions.
That's
You know.
exactly right.
So if we can't make decisions, that is my most frustrating point as a leader when I found growing up is indecisive leadership. And I grew up in the military. I mean, I was military for 32 years. And the most frustrating thing is when you cannot make a decision. I mean, who wants to go to war
Right.
and you're following somebody who can't make a decision? So I always hammer that home. But at the same token, I found myself to be a leadership challenge. Well, I didn't find it. I was informed by my leaders that I was a leadership challenge because, like millennials, we come out of college and we come into the workforce knowing more than other generations have known, right?
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So we can't just hand them something like you said and think that it's just going to fly without questions or guidance.
Yeah.
So I just want leaders to understand that when you find somebody in your workforce that you look at as a leadership challenge, maybe the challenge isn't them, but it's us,
Mhm.
and how
Right.
we move forward. So, yes. So, thank you once again. I look
Thank
forward
you
to
for having me.
continue to communicate with you, and I'll let you know about my book when it comes out. And I'm definitely going to include how we talked about millennials, because I think it's significant given millennials will make up this workforce for the next 10 years.
Yes, absolutely. And then they'll have their own generation to deal with.
Exactly. I'll be around to talk about that. But thank you again and have a
Have a
great
good day.
day.
You
And
too. Bye bye.
bless you.
Bless
Bye.
you too. Bye bye.